Hey there, welcome back to another episode. So, about 2 months ago, I had spoken at a seminar and charity event, and my speech was called Falling Forward: How Failures Can Lead into Life's Greatest Lessons. And I thought I'd share a bit of that speech. So, I want us to imagine for a moment that we're standing at a crossroad of life. One path is paved with certainties, and the other path is paved with uncertainties and setbacks. Which path would you choose? Of course, we would choose the one with certainties. But unfortunately, life just doesn't happen that way. We don't all wish to have setbacks. However, setbacks and failures are just a part of life. Every human has its challenges. Some are small, some are big. Some can be fixed, and some cannot. And when we know that there's pain associated to these setbacks, that's when we become afraid of failure or afraid of making decisions because we're afraid that things just won't work out. Now, what many of us are not able to see is that most of our setbacks can truly be our blessings. Now, I'm going to share a story with you of a setback that I had, and it was of a business venture. In 2016, I had started to work for a fitness trainer. And he wanted to build this facility and wanted me to be a part of it. I was sold into the fact that it was going to take off because he had succeeded this once before. I had started to teach there and I really became passionate about it. So much so that I invested quite a bit of money into it. Unfortunately, it went south. He was in a personal financial distress and he actually had to close the place down. And he was definitely not in any position to return any of my investment. Now I'm going to admit, I felt foolish. I felt embarrassed because I never had anything in writing. That being said, I ended up losing a lot of money that I would never get back. For quite some time, I was losing sleep over it. I really didn't tell anybody. I was just embarrassed. And I was just so stressed out about it because I don't know, I just felt taken advantage of. I felt stupid. And I remember I had a long conversation with my spiritual coach, Paul. And he said to me, look, every failure carries a blessing. And you can't see it now, but you need to do the work in order to get that blessing back. What he said to me was, you need to start forgiving this person. And you have to find a way to release it in order to get something back. Now, as you can imagine, that is really hard to do, especially when it comes to your own money. I mean, what was that silver lining? What was that blessing? So let me just jog your memory back to what I said earlier. I had said that I was teaching there. Well, when I was teaching there, I remember a few of my students that had knee issues. They would roll up their yoga mat or they would take their towel and roll it and kneel on it as a buffer. I realized that the yoga mat was too thin for them to kneel on, which is why they would roll up their yoga mat. And I said to myself, there had to be something else out there. So I did a little bit of research, and lo and behold, I did find something. So I had private labeled this balance pad, they called it, but they used it more in physical therapy, but not so much for the purposes of kneeling when you're doing yoga or you're doing exercises for those that have knee issues or thin knees. So what I did was, a year later, I ended up turning it into a business. I started to sell this knee pad. I first started it with just going to fairs and having in-person events where I test marketed to see if this was something that people were interested in buying. Lucky for me, it was. I found the problem and I found the solution for it. Basically, just created this pad where I sold it in 3 different sizes for different needs. And fast forward to 2020, with the help of my family, I had created videos that I put on Facebook and Instagram. And guess what? I ended up selling out during the pandemic because during the pandemic, if you recall, everybody was buying exercise equipment for their home. So what was the blessing there? The blessing was that I created a business, which has been going on about 6 years now, because of my original failed venture. Now, had I not been able to have the opportunity to teach and to see that there was a problem to solve, then I wouldn't have had this business. Today, I got my money back and then some. In result of all of this, I ended up having a business that I created from that experience. So, what looked like a failure turned into success for me. Falling forward is not just about failing and moving on. It's about learning, growing, and transforming your failures into your most significant assets. And more importantly, it's a chance to discover your hidden blessings. Each of us in our own lives will always encounter failures. They may seem devastating at the time, but if we dig deep, we often will find some seed of opportunity. And I challenge each and every one of you to reflect on your own failures and setbacks and consider how they have shaped you, how they have taught you, and how they have prepared you for the successes that lie ahead. Now, I'm going to leave you with this pledge. And the next time you come across a situation where you're having some difficulty, you're having a setback, be kind to yourself. Listen to this pledge, and I hope this will help you and inspire you in some way, shape, or form. Dear self, I give myself permission to make mistakes. These setbacks are learning opportunities guiding me towards my true path. Dear self, I need to be gentle with myself, understanding that failure is part of the human experience. I forgive myself and I move forward with grace. Dear self, I trust in my journey, knowing that failure is not a reflection of my worth. From this day forward, I am choosing the suffering that leads me forward. Dear self, I give myself the space to make mistakes as they are part of my plan. It is in those moments that I find strength, resilience, and a deeper understanding of who I am. Dear self, I am not my failures. I am the courage that tries again and again and again. I am the wisdom that learns. I am the compassion that forgives. Dear self, no more playing it small. No more waiting, because it is time for me to start creating. Dear self, from this day forward, no more running from my fears as I am bringing my faith and strength to this fight. Dear self, I embrace my true self, recognizing that I am a blessing in my own life and in the lives of others. Dear self, I believe in myself and my journey, even when I fall, because I am the hero of my story, rising above it all. There is a version of you that you have not met yet, and that you is the greatest you. Remember, never be afraid to fall, because it is in the falling that we often find our wings.